Montana State University's been doing research on sawfly, wheat stem sawfly, for more than 100 years.
Economically, the sawfly is spreading. It's an unusual insect.
It is a small wasp-like bug that shows up for just 3 to 4 days in its flying season and ends up invading the stem of the wheat plant.
The adults lay eggs into the stem when that wheat is almost ripe. Sawfly then prepares to spend the winter down about an inch below the soil. It goes down the stem into the crown of the plant. And as it exits, it cuts a ring around the stem close to the ground to essentially make a spit wad and plug the stem above it. When it makes that spit wad, it takes enough material out of the stem to make it very weak there.
It cuts the stem off and the wheat plant falls on the ground, and it's very difficult to pick up.
And it's frustrating because you have a beautiful stand of wheat, and because of the way the biology of the sawfly is, as the combine is rolling, the stems are falling over.
The problem with sawfly, more than anything else, is the sheer devaluing crop impact that this pest creates. On a low-price crop in, say, 2023, Montana's losses were estimated by growers to be $65 million. But on better price years, those losses would be averaging $91 million.
We can go out in the field in the spring and see sawflies flying around like crazy, but we don't really know what the extent of the problem is until the end of the season when it's too late.
It's a genetically diverse organism also, can adapt to some diversity in the host.
There's always a next step with wheat stem sawfly. It's pretty hard, so as an insect pest. When we started doing this project, we didn't even know exactly the status of wheat stem sawfly. It wasn't called wheat stem sawfly, it was actually called western grass stem sawfly. And all the entomologists said, well, this is going to be a problem if it ever starts using wheat. The first real damaging populations in Montana were in 1910.
When agriculture came to the state in the form of small grains, wheat especially, and primarily spring wheat, because of the very harsh winters that we had back then, that the wheat stem sawfly moved. It had this, hey, I'll move over to this Garden of Eden, if you will, this huge wheat field where very nutritious, right, for the wheat stem sawfly.
As time passed, they adapted so that they were able to also use the acres that were planted to winter wheat. The adult females only live a very short time. They don't have to travel very far to lay eggs. They don't lay very many eggs, but once that egg is inside a stem, it's pretty safe. Not much will kill it. You can't spray insecticide and kill them. Most systemic insecticides won't kill them. The only ones that might are so toxic nobody wants to use them.
I think David, Phil, or Luther would probably tell you how devoted Montana farmers were to finding a solution to sawfly in those early days. While guys had tolerated it for a century, it had always just been a nagging hangnail. But then came a shift. It seemed like overnight, sawfly became a common theme at the coffee shop. Like most wheat commissions, the Montana Wheat and Barley Committee spends a great majority of its investment on research. Our organization has invested somewhere north of $1 million just on sawfly since those early days in the 90s researching the pest. Producers are using every tool in their toolkit to mitigate sawfly. Some swathe, some purchase stripper headers, some are betting on parasitoids to help solve the issue, and nearly everyone is planting one solid stem variety or another.
I have swath in this. It's a preemptive strike to put it in a row that I can pick up with the machinery I have. It makes harvest really long. It costs money, takes resources. It's not a satisfactory solution, but worse than that, on the science side of things, the parasitoids that feed on these sawfly, which we're trying to increase, suffer at the hands of a swather because they need to finish out their life cycle with that sawfly larva, and If the larvae are above your cutter bar, you've not only killed that sawfly, but you've killed the parasitoids, which we're trying to propagate and get more of.
Along with that adaptation of the sawfly in the landscape, one of the most important things which figures into this prominently is the fact that not only was there the sawfly in the grassland, but there are also populations of things that naturally regulate sawflies. We call these parasitoids. They kill sawflies. They actually are very important in our wheat fields.
Parasitoid is a small wasp. They parasitize other insects. The adult wasp will sting through the stem when the little larva of the wheat stem sawfly is feeding, will sting it, paralyze it, and then lay its egg right next to or on the wheat stem sawfly larva. The little wasp larva will feed on and devour the wheat stem sawfly larva. With the parasitoids, it's really managing the farm, the landscape, the ag production system, such that we encourage those populations of parasitoids.
Well, this is a 42-foot stripper header. It's a shell-borne. And what happens is that you'd have a wheat head, so we'd have that shield a little bit higher, but the wheat head would just come here and get bent, and this rotor turns really fast at about 500 RPM. And so when that wheat head comes like this, it gets actually stripped and flung across this shield.
Why use a stripper head?
It has an advantage on sawfly as far as we can pick up, actually where we have sawfly, we can pick up pretty good as long as it's not flat on the ground. But it also favors the parasitoids to basically overwinter and survive. So hopefully
in
with
your
that,
stubble.
in the stubble,
This is
yeah,
bad. Okay.
in the stubble.
We've planted mostly solid stem wheat because we have a problem with the wheat stem sawfly. All of the solid stem varieties came from a variety that was developed back in the 1930s called Rescue. And the genetics for all the varieties we have now came from that variety called Rescue. The problem with solid stem varieties is they have an inherent yield drag. They yield about 5 bushels an acre lower, or maybe even more than some of the hollow stem varieties. Even though it yields less than some of the hollow stem varieties, the loss you suffer from the sawflies and the hollow stem varieties can be greater than the yield loss that you get from the solid stem.
Through breeding, especially in the spring wheat breeding program, we're seeing that gap between yield and sawfly resistance seems to be narrowing.
Our spring wheat breeders and our winter wheat breeders make high horsepower solid stem varieties now. Yield incredibly close to hollow stem, not quite, but very close. And these things are way tougher than Rescue, but we still have sawfly cutting in that at some level. It's not immune in any way.
The Montana State University team that works on sawfly cuts across. It's not just entomologists, right? It's wheat breeders and agronomists and others. So we have a very broad team, and that's really important. We now have other university researchers now involved, which is great. We don't wish this problem on other states with wheat stem sawfly, but because that's their reality now, we have all these new thoughts and additional brain power to help solve this problem, which is very exciting. And so for all that to happen, we need coordination across states, and we need kind of long-term investment strategies because this problem is expanding and spreading.
What I'm most interested for the future of sawfly research, one, I'd say in the past year or so, I've noticed that there's more attention given to sawfly, especially as it's become a problem in places like Colorado and Nebraska, sending more resources at it. And as I mentioned before, the team aspect of people from different disciplines, I think is really exciting.
We definitely need long-term investment because this is, like I keep mentioning, a wicked problem. It's nothing that can be solved easily.
It's now confirmed in 4 other states. It's moving into barley. It's just a matter of time before all of our wheat states are affected.
There's one big win, and that is the solid stem varieties. But what we need to do is have some other wins on the science side. MSU has been pretty diligent at working on that.
Our universities are our main source. We like to say MSU is our research and development department for Montana agriculture. There's, like $7 returned for every dollar that goes into research.
Just because we haven't found the ultimate cure yet doesn't mean you quit trying.
Sawfly is not just a heartbreaker, it's a farm breaker.